Yes, indeed, guys. Welcome back to the channel. This is Jay Jordan here, and tonight I'm going to recap the Liberty's home loss to the Minnesota Lynx on July 28th. At the time of recording this video, it is July 29th, so it's about 24 hours after the Liberty played. I wish I could have got this video out sooner, but I had some other things to do, but I definitely wanted to get it in before our game on Sunday, the 30th, against the Sparks. Well, the Liberty lost 88 to 83. It was their fourth game in 6 nights. It was their second game of a back-to-back. They played the Atlanta Dream the night before, and they ended up losing. It wasn't nothing too exciting besides Sabrina having 31 points. For the Liberty, it wasn't anything exciting on the Liberty end. We struggled majority of the night. There were glimpses of a comeback, glimpses of runs, but overall, the Minnesota Lynx out hustled, more energy, more efficient. They were just a better overall team. As always, guys, we're gonna get into the game quarter by quarter. We get into the box score and team stats, into some of the press conference quotes, and then we'll finish off with my thoughts of the game. Guys, thank you for always supporting this channel. As always, please hit the like button if you like this type of content so I can continue doing it. Hit the subscribe button so you can join the patrons on this channel. And also hit that noti bell so you get notified whenever I post videos on this channel. The playoffs are coming up shortly. The end of the season's coming up, so we'll be having a lot of watch-alongs, a lot of recaps, and we're looking forward to the future for where the Liberty end up in the standings. All right, so we'll start off with the starting lineups of the Minnesota Lynx. For them, Nafisa Collier, I'll preface by saying Nafisa Collier, their MVP, was out with a right ankle injury that she suffered the game before. So she's going to be out at least a week, they reported. Another person out was Rachel Banham, their guard off the bench. She's basically like a three-point shooter. She's been out with a thumb injury. And Ariel Powers, she's been out the whole season. I think she probably played one game I saw, and she hasn't played too much otherwise. But their starting lineup was Lindsey Allen, Kayla McBride, um, I forgot this girl's name. Her last name is Milic, Nicolina Milic, Dorka Uhas, and Diamond Miller. For the Liberty, Courtney Vandersloot out for this game. It was a back-to-back. They were giving her some rest. She'll be ready for the Los Angeles Sparks game on the 30th, which is tomorrow if you're watching this game tonight on the 29th. So we started Marine Johannes in her place. So it was Sabrina Ionescu, Marine Johannes, Jonquel Jones, Benai Jelani, Rihanna Stewart, not in any particular order. The only person that was swapped was, as I mentioned, Courtney Vandersloot. All right, so the first quarter, it was promising. The Liberty started off on a 15-5 start. They were moving the ball around. They were hitting shots. I know they missed probably their first two shots of the game, but after that, the ball was popping. They were getting to the lane, hitting layups, hitting threes. Ball was moving. Defense was solid. Minnesota called a timeout, and then things went downhill for the Liberty. Minnesota came back in with a renewed purpose on defense. They were really attacking the ball handlers. Nobody could stop. Nobody could get by their defense. They have a lot of bigger players, and they responded on a 15-2 run to take the lead. We only scored. We were scoreless in the last 6 minutes of the first quarter. We did not score a single bucket. I know we were a little sluggish, so Coach Brandella tried to rely on the bench a little bit more. But she put this lineup in that was like really, really nasty. It was like Epiphany Prince, Marine Johannes, Benai Jelani, Kayla Thornton, and Niara Sabli. I don't think I've ever seen that lineup on the floor together. Where do you get the offense from? You have defense with Benijah and Kayla Thornton, but who scores the buckets? Kayla Thornton's not really a scorer. Benijah can score. Niara's not a scorer. Epiphany Prince, she's older, not a scorer, and Marine Johannes this year hasn't been a go-to scorer for the team. So that lineup was a little funky. I know we had to do some random things, but I never want to see that lineup again on the floor. It was bad. Um, so we ended that quarter down 22-17, 22-17 at the end of that quarter. For the second quarter, Sabrina, I guess she noticed that we were struggling. Stewie was struggling with her shot. I know she at one point had missed like 7 in a row. Sabrina started hitting a bunch of threes. And we tied it up at 33 midway through that second quarter. I will say the Lynx were missing some easy layups, and our guards were just getting stopped on a lot of their screens. They were doing a lot of pick and roll. Our guard would run into the screen and just get stuck. Their big would roll. They would get a wide open attempt. Marine had 3 fouls. By the midway through that second quarter, she had to sit on the bench. She wasn't really contributing on offense either, so she basically was doing nothing on the floor. So she had to go take a seat in place of Jocelyn Willoughby. Um, as I mentioned, the Lynx were getting into the paint on the pick and roll. We just kept opting to switch, so our big would be on their guard, and then of course our guard would be on their big, which would be Dorka Juhas or Jessica Shepard, Nikolina Milic, and they would just get easy layups or get fouled and go to the line. One of the plays of the quarter, Tiffany Mitchell hits this crazy buzzer beater with like 0.2 seconds left. She has a half court three to end the second quarter and put them up 48-39. I think in that quarter also Jessica Shepard hit some crazy last second three as well. Not Jessica Shepard. Kayla McBride. Excuse me. Kayla McBride hit some crazy corner three with time running out. To beat the shot clock, but they go up 48-39 to end the second quarter. Liberty, as you can see, they had they didn't really do too much in that quarter. They had 22 points, but they also gave up 26, and they were already down 5 points from the first quarter. The third quarter, however, more of the same. I said, however, but it's more of the same. They were settling for a lot of jumpers. I know when teams shoot a lot of jumpers, it's especially on the second night of a back-to-back. That's signs of tiredness. They don't have the legs. They don't have the energy to drive to the paint, exert that extra energy. So they were settling for a lot of jumpers. I will mention we'll see in the box tour, but I think Breanna Stewart shot 9 threes. She hadn't shot 9 threes since like the second game of the season against the Fever. So she was chucking up a lot of shots, very inefficient tonight, and we'll see it later. Minnesota surgical on offense, breaking us down, attracting doubles, and finding the right person. They went up as much as 17 in that third quarter. Um, Offense was a struggle for the Liberty, and there it was like basically they were just playing a scrimmage. They were just getting whatever they wanted. By the end of that quarter, we were down 70-58. We did cut back down from the 17-point lead, but it was only 70-58. And in the fourth quarter, Kayla McBride, Marine Johannes came back in. Jocelyn Willoughby had started the second half for us because Marine Johannes was basically a no-show. But the fourth quarter, Kayla McBride sees Marine Johannes. She scores 7 straight on her. She hits 2 mid-range jump shots. Then Marine almost gets a steal. Kayla McBride picks it up, takes 2 dribbles, hits a 3, and then they sub Marine Johannes out. But the Liberty, we go on a 14-0 run during that 3-4 minute stretch to cut the lead to 77-76. So we were within 1. That was as close as we had. We were since the second quarter when we had a 36-35 lead. And they call a timeout. Minnesota calls a timeout. They out of the timeout. They run the play. We play solid defense. I think John Quell and Breanna Stewart have some sort of miscommunication. They attract 2. Diamond Miller is sitting wide open for 3. Hits a 3 to put them up 4. We come down. I think we turned the ball over. Kayla McBride. Oh no, we We miss a shot. Kayla McBride gets a long rebound, goes coast to coast, hits a layup, puts them up. I think that puts them up about 5. And from that point on, the game was pretty much over. It became like a turnover fest for the Liberty, a foul fest on both ends, and that we had no chance of coming back after that. So that's why we ended up losing 88-83. And we'll take a look at the box score now. So as you can see, the Liberty lost 88-83. We outscored them 25-18 in that fourth quarter, but it just wasn't enough. Their record is 18-6 now, and the Minnesota Lynx record is 12-13. But let's take a look at the box score. Dorka Juhas beasted in the paint in 30 minutes, 13 points, 10 rebounds, a nice double-double for her. Even though she was a minus 11 in her minutes, nice double-double. Diamond Miller, the rookie, she's a bundle of energy, like a point forward. She's lanky, bringing the ball up the court. She could score from anywhere, drive into the paint. She had 22 points and 5 rebounds, plus 7 in her minutes, 8 from 11 from the free throw line, 2 for 5 from 3. Nikolina Milic contributed well, 6 points, 4 rebounds. She did have a couple travels, hence why she has 3 turnovers, a minus 12 in her minutes. Kayla McBride, 35 minutes, 26 points. I think that's a season high for her. 5 rebounds, 4 or 7 from 3, 4 assists. And since Nafisa Collier wasn't there, she really stepped up and contributed heavily. And Lindsay Allen, solid point guard for them, 7 points, 4 assists, 4 rebounds. Minus 8 in her minutes, but she was really doing her thing. On their bench, Jessica Shepard, I think this is her first game back. She missed like the last 14 games or something like that, they mentioned, with some type of injury. 18 minutes, 5 points, 4 assists, 6 rebounds, plus 26 in her minutes. She had the best plus minus on the team, I think. Yep. Bridget Carlton, 10 minutes, no points, 1 assist. Emily Engsler, 4 points, 5 rebounds. She went out with like a shoulder injury. I think Kayla Thornton was diving for a loose ball, and they both were, and she hits her in the shoulder. She goes out in the end of the third, fourth quarter, and she did not return. Tiffany Mitchell, plus 15 in her minutes, 5 points, 2 assists. She did have a couple travel turnovers as well. And as I mentioned, she hit that buzzer beater 3 at the end of the second quarter. For the Liberty, Benijah Laney, after having a big fourth quarter the previous night against the Dream, in her 36 minutes, 11 points, 4 fouls, 3 rebounds, 2 assists, 5 of 14, very inefficient. Brianna Stewart, same inefficiency. She did have 23 and 6 rebounds with 5 assists, but bailed out by a lot of free throws. That saved her her point total, but she was 5 for 19. Very inefficient. Jonquel Jones, she had a streak of 4 straight double doubles, came back down to earth, missed it by 1 because I think she missed a free throw. 9 points, 11 rebounds. She was a plus 3 in her minutes. Maureen Johannes, sometimes I forget when she's on the court. 20 minutes, 4 points, 2 of 6 shooting, 0 for 4 from 3, 1 assist. Yeah, sometimes she goes missing out there. It's her first start of the season, but it wasn't a pretty sight. Sabrina Ionescu, 31 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists. Did have 6 turnovers, which is not good at all. 7 assists, 6 turnovers. It cancels out. And she shot the most shots on the team, 21 shots. She basically was the only one hitting shots, so I can't really blame her. 7 for 14 from 3. And then our bench. 5 points from Kayla Thornton, and nobody else scores. Kayla Thornton had 5.7 rebounds. The rest of the bench took 3 attempts total. That's not gonna cut it. Compared to their bench wasn't that much better, but they got 14. That was pretty better. 14 points from their bench compared to 5. We lost by 5. different. That could be a difference in the game. Um, but our bench really, I know Marine moved from the bench, but we got to improve that aspect. Let's take a look at the team stats really quickly. Um, Field goal percentage, we shot 36%, terrible. They shot 47%, almost 46 and a half. They shot 40%, 40.9% from three. We shot 28.6%. We took 35 threes, only made 10, and we just kept chucking them up there. They were pretty bad from the free throw line, 61.9% on the 13 for 21. We were 21 for 25 on 84%. They out rebounded us by 340 to 37, had one more offensive rebound than us, and two more defensive rebounds. I feel like those rebounds came at the wrong opportunity as well, at the wrong time as well. Equal in assists, 20 assists each. We had 6 steals, they had 5. We had 3 blocks, they had 0. They had more turnovers than us, 14 turnovers to 11 for us, but they scored 18 points off of our 11 turnovers, and we only scored 7 points off of their 14. We outscored them on the break 12 to 10. They destroyed us in the paint 40 to 24. As I mentioned, they were getting mismatches with our guards on the inside, our guards on their bigs, and they were going to work. And for the fouls about even. We had 21 fouls. They had 18. They got a technical foul. I don't know on who. And the flagrant foul was, what was the flagrant foul on? I think can't remember what the flag. Oh, Tiffany Mitchell hit Sabrina with the elbow, and for the Liberty when Engsler got hurt, Kayla Thornton got a flagrant for that. Their largest lead was 17, and our largest lead was 10, which was that 15 to 5 start. And we never got a bigger lead than that. All right, so that's the end of the box score and the team stats. As you can see, we got destroyed in the paint and we shot a terrible percentage. Even though our turnovers were less, that's a recipe for an L. We'll quickly touch on some of the press conference quotes. Of course, they're gonna probably give you the same blasé answers, like, "Oh, it was a back-to-back. We'll learn from it." But I just want us to take a look at them now. So, as always, looking at my guy Miles Ehrlich, beat writer for the New York Liberty. Um, we'll start with Sandy Rondella's quote here. She said, "It was a tough one. It wasn't pretty. Back to back is tough, but credit to the players. They did fight back. It was a bit clunky with some calls slowing us down, but they're a good team." And quote. A next quote by her. "They were really persistent on the boards. They were hitting us and playing harder with us. With our switching and lack of communication, we just didn't get it. But we know that can change." End quote. Stewie on Minnesota's defense. She said, quote, "From watching Minnesota, they moved the ball really well. They passed and they cut. Oftentimes we had two to the ball and the dump down passes to the post. We could have communicated better. It's a simple fix, and we struggled all night." As I mentioned about the reserves only scoring 5 points, Sandy Brandella had stuff to say. She said, "We need them tonight. They weren't giving us what we needed, especially when we got down. We believe in them, but they've got to help us. They're not just in there to be scorers, but we need them and need them to be aggressive." I mean, there's not too many scorers on that bench that came in tonight. Jocelyn Willoughby, no. Kayla Thornton, no. Niara Sabali, no. Like, the bench aren't scorers. You gotta always keep a starter, and you can't put a all bench unit in. You gotta stagger the starters so that it could help out with the scoring. Brianna Stewart said, "This one sucked." Sorry, quote, "This one sucked and was tough to lose at home, but no time to dwell. We're still on the stretch with a quick turnaround. We head to LA tomorrow. Happy with the way we fought, but it didn't have to be like this." And she's right. It really didn't have to be like this. They started off strong, and they just got out of what got them the lead. We'll talk about Sandy Rondella. This last quote: "Losing Courtney it was tough because she's the general. It's what gets us going on both ends of the floor. She's aggressive. She's a facilitator, so we missed her a lot. We need Marine to be a little more aggressive. She's so special." She keeps saying that, but Marine has shown this season that she's not as aggressive or refuses to be as aggressive as she was last year. She's just been resorting to shooting a lot of threes coming off pin downs and whatnot. But that was the press conference. Just a bunch of we gotta get off the we got a game in a couple days. We gotta get back to that. We things we could fix. Things we could fix, but we'll see how they respond against the Sparks. My thoughts. I gave you some of them already about that lineup. That all bench lineup. Never want to see that lineup again on the floor. That lineup is terrible. I can't wait for Steph Dose. I can't believe I'm saying this, but we need a big person to come in who can hold their own against these bigger teams. We were getting beat up on the offensive boards and defensive boards, even though we only lost it by 3. There were some key possessions where we could have secured rebounds, and we didn't. I also want to talk about this. I think it's a 2-3 zone. Sandy sometimes tries to play, giving me nightmares because I'm a Miami Heat fan, and seeing zone reminds me of Eric Spoelstra and us playing zone. But it's hard to rebound out of a zone. And when we were playing zone, those rebounds it was hard to get to, and then trying to match back up when they get an offensive rebound, players were confused. So I need us to work on that if we're gonna be instituting zone. Sometimes we need to institute what happens after the shot. Do we go back into zone or do we match up? Because I think there was a play where Lindsay Allen um got the rebound, shot it. Nobody willing to come out on her. She got the rebound again because they were in a zone. So we need to communicate and work on that for the future. But like I said, it was a back to back. It was their first back to back of the season. They fought hard on the comeback trail, just couldn't get over the hump. Lost to a up and coming, revived Minnesota Lynx team. I think the Minnesota Lynx are in 7th seed right now. So if we do, if the playoffs were supposed to start today, we would play them in the playoffs. So that's something we need to keep in mind. Well, that is the end of the game recap, guys. Thank you for tuning in. I know it was released later than normal, but thanks for tuning in. We will have a watch along tomorrow, or if you're watching this on Sunday, we will have a watch along later on today. Sunday the 30th at 3, starting at 3:45. Game is at 4. A full slate of games in the W tomorrow. Starting at 1 o'clock, you have Minnesota, Connecticut. Then you have 3 o'clock, you have Washington and Atlanta. And then at 4 o'clock, you have about 3 games. You have the Seattle Storm versus the Fever. You got the Mercury versus the Wings. The Sky, excuse me. And then you have our Liberty versus the LA Sparks on ESPN. And then to close it out at 6 p.m., you have the Dallas Wings versus the Las Vegas Aces. We will have to watch along for the Liberty versus Sparks. So make sure you're tuned in on the YouTube. Make sure you hit that noti bell so you get notified when I go live. We're gonna have fun on there. It's been a while since we've done a watch along. Been about a week. I think last one we did was against the Mystics, but it's been about a week since we done a watch along. So make sure you tune in, whether it's on the Twitch, whether it's on the YouTube, and we'll have a good old time there. Hopefully we get a win on the road. We'll be playing them back to back. We play them on Sunday and we play them on Tuesday as well. So we need to steal both those games on the road from the Sparks. Thanks guys for tuning in as always. As I mentioned, make sure you hit that notification bell so you get notified when I post. Make sure you like the video if you like the content, subscribe, and I'll see y'all tomorrow. Salute.